All right, everybody. Hey, welcome to Comic Book Radio. I'm your host, Peter Cimetti, and this is episode 157. Tonight, my guest is Justin K. Sweet. I like that name. It's got a good ring to it. We're going to be talking about indie distribution for comics. And also, he's got a comic called Chrome Dog. That's currently on Fund My Comic right now. You guys can go check out that. It's in the link is in the description of the show. Before we bring on Justin, I got one thing to tell you guys about. Actually, no, two things. So the King Cryptid beanie. It's a green beanie with a yellow King Cryptid logo. That's currently on kingcryptid.com, which will take you to the Indiegogo. And then it's also on alternacomics.com/kingcryptid. Now, it's $15 for that beanie. We're going in production with it soon. You want to make sure we're having it up there again as a second chance before we go in production. You want to make sure to guarantee yours that you get yours soon. We're taking that down. The last day to get it would be Sunday. This Sunday, the 28th. So if you hadn't got it last time, I think it was maybe 3 months ago, something like that, we put it up. We're putting it up again. Make sure you get yours. The second thing, Alterna Comics has a new campaign. We got 4 new comics out. We got Blood Realm number 14. We got Horace H. Hoover number 3 of 5. And we've got Unit 44 number 9 and number 10. Those comics, again, are on both Indiegogo and alternacomics.com/funding. You want to make sure you get yours. We've got a stretch goal on the campaign for $8,000. Once we reach the $8,000 stretch goal, it's going to unlock an Alterna foil card. That's Alterna foil card number 7, and it's going to be of King Cryptid. All the physical perk backers get that for free. As a bonus as well, you also get the Alterna series trading cards, Horace H. Hoover, and the Blighted. That's cards number 17 and cards number 18. So that'll be 2 complete pages of the Alterna series set, 18 cards, 9 cards per page. You want to make sure you get those comics, 4 new comics, for $9 on either the Alterna site or on Indiegogo. Lots of other great stuff too. Art commissions from a whole bunch of great artists, myself included. There's a couple left that you can check the featured perk out on the Indiegogo. But you want to make sure you get in on this because this is almost the first week. Time is always of the essence on these things. We're, I think, about at the 51 or 52% mark. So thank you guys for getting us there so far. We're going to get to that goal, but the sooner the better, because maybe there's a $10,000 stretch goal that I'm not going to announce until we get to the first one. All right. So without further ado, let's say hello to those of you in the chat, and then we'll bring on Justin in just a moment. We got Dr. Mask here. What's up, Dr. Mask? Jaded One is in the house too. How's it going, Jaded One? Dr. Mask says, do something nice for yourself or a friend and back the new campaign for Alterna. Thank you. Appreciate that, man. Spicer McLeroy is here too. Says, what's going on, Warriors? Thanks so much for the stream last night, Brother Pete. Super informative. I'm glad that you got something out of that. Appreciate it. Yeah, we went about 2 hours talking about my crowdfunding experiences and whatnot. The ins and outs, ups and downs, all that good stuff. I'm glad you got something out of it. Creators Outlet is here. What's up, Creators Outlet? Hope you're doing well. We got Ben Spar in the chat as well. What's up, Ben? Spaceman is here, coming down from above. What's up, Spaceman? How's it going? Thank you for being here tonight. We also got Bobo here. What's up, Bobo? Hope you're doing good. Thank you for being here tonight. Spaceman says, Pete, looking to get into another Alterna comic in the vein of the King. Suggestions. Well, King Cryptid's going to cross over with Blood Realm. We're going to have a campaign for that in June. And the book will be out like next year. I recommend Blood Realm. Really good dark fantasy epic. Rob Geronimo was on the show the other day. Really good dude. Super talented. Very engrossing story. So I recommend if you want something in the same kind of vein, you could go for that. If you want kind of like a sillier King Cryptid, you could go for Unit 44. Unit 44 is a very like two bumbling Area 51 agents, and they follow different case files and things like that. Different creatures, different monsters, all kinds of fun stuff. Truth be told, you can't really go wrong with anything at Alterna. If you're completely overwhelmed with what we got, check out the first issue bundle. You get a bunch of first issues, and you can try what you like and then pursue after that. But all right, so let's bring on the man of the hour here. He has been waiting patiently as I've been rattling on. We got Justin K. Swede. What's up, Justin?
What's going on, Pete? Thanks for
Hey,
having me.
thank you for being here, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to come out of the gate and say King Cryptid is like, if you guys are not reading King Cryptid, what are you doing with your life? Because those first four issues, as soon as I got them in, I grabbed. I just have to confess something. Like I grabbed a couple of extra, like one extra issue of each, so I can read them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. Like,
Thank you, man.
I love it. It taps into that what's the word? It's adventure with it hit me in those 90s comics feels in a way that I haven't seen currently. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah. That's kind of my sweet spot of where I was going for was a mix of Bronze Age and the best of like the late '80s, early '90s, and that's
yeah.
kind of the tone, the feel of the series. But yeah, I really am striving. I know it might sound weird, even though I love comics and there are a lot of comic book influences in it. A really big influence on the series is Batman the Animated Series and
Caught
Thundercats.
that. Yeah, I
So
definitely
yeah,
caught the BTAS, and then also the van in the woods. I'm a big Punisher fan, and every time I see a van in the woods, I think of the Punisher. I just can't help myself. Because I swear, I don't know what it was. Mike Barron, he was always, Punisher was driving through the woods in his van doing something. But yeah, it's good. I
yeah.
like it.
No, thank you, man. Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, having Batman out there in the bush, like what, and then that fight between him and that cave creature, that
Oh
was,
yeah, yeah. The Granite Beast in issue
yeah,
two. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And savvy readers have noticed not to turn this into a King Cryptid show.
Well, no, but I
Savvy
mean,
readers have noticed issue one. You got the full moon out. We highlight the power set of how much more powerful King Cryptid is on a full moon, and then issue
yep,
two is a new moon. So where his powers ebb and flow with the phases of the moon, you get that powerful King Cryptid in the full moon, and then you also get that completely depowered at the mercy of getting squashed like a bug by the 20-foot tall granite beast, and he has to not let him know that he could get killed right now. So
yeah,
you get that kind of nice mix and establishes it right off the bat. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. I'm glad everybody's
yeah,
enjoying it.
yeah.
Really appreciate
It's
it.
it's great, and I and that's going to kind of go into our conversation as we go along with this whole distribution thing that I've been trying to really it as you say, it ebbs and it flows, right? Some things ebb and flow, and the market right now is not very good. It hasn't been kind to us, I should say,
Man.
and
All
I'm
right.
sure you
So
know this.
so let's dive into it
Yep.
because these are very tumultuous waters,
Hmm.
and like much like anything revolving around comic books, independent comic books especially. What how'd you come upon this? What gave you the idea to start doing this? And for those that don't know, I guess let's even preface and go a little bit before that about what it is you are exactly doing.
Okay. So, well, first off, hi, I'm Justin K. Sweet. I'm developing, my own comic book world. And when I came into the indie comic space, and that's a whole nother story that I could get into. But to keep it short, brief, I decided that I wanted to create a comic, and then I wanted to know where to start. And so as I was doing that, I was looking around at all these different independent creators, and I was noticing the elephant in the room is they're not in comic shops, right? But I
Mm.
also noticed that because I'm coming back to comics from being, decades absent from comics. Like I grew up collecting them, joined the army, and kind of, stepped away, stepped back, that kind of thing. And so when my enthusiasm kind of overwhelmed me to the point where I'm like, I miss the spinner racks, right? And so I thought, okay, surely we've got to at least try something. And I didn't, and all I saw in the indie comic space, especially with Comicsgate and then, and others, is this dependency on crowdfunding specifically, right? And I just kept wondering. I'm like, well, how come they're not trying to get into, comic shops, and how come they're, at least why not try to do something with with um, spinner racks. And so I thought, well, I mean, here I am. I'm just one guy, so I'm going to try something. And so I approached a whole bunch of different indie comic creators. Right now, granted, I was 100% brand new to the whole concept of it. Right, and I'm still 100% brand new to even owning and like running my own business. So I've learned so many lessons, especially with crowdfunding Chrome Dog, which that came with its own own headache. But the thing is, I thought that I was, it was just my passion to try to just make it happen, right? So it wasn't. Much. My wife reminded me of this. I'm not making any money when I'm trying to get these books on these spinner racks.
Yeah.
Um, and
Well, how long have you been doing this for with that?
over a year now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that's
time
not even
flies.
that unusual. I mean, most businesses
Yeah,
are lucky to even make something within the first 4 to 5 years.
right. Well,
So, but yeah,
but it's the thing is, I'm buying them at wholesale, right? And then I'm turning around and selling them pretty much at wholesale. So I'm not really making anything out of it. The only thing that I make out of it is the startup. So I've created a package so that, and I approach the store owner. I'm like, hey, it's going to cost this amount of money, and that gets you a rack that I come in and I will install, and then I fill it full of comics your first go. The idea is for them to take the ball and run with it and fill it with their own comics. But what it's turned into is I'm the comics guy, and so that thing is going to be empty if I'm not the one that comes back to
dependency on
fill it.
you. Yeah.
And it's like, and I can't be that guy because there's no money in it for me. And again, it's not about the money necessarily, but I've got to at least put gas in the tank first off, and second, I'm a comic creator myself, and so it takes a lot of time and effort to get the comics. I have different business owners that I work with. They work differently. One of them will pay me in advance, right? And then I will place my order with, fine folks like you, Pete, and then get the comics, and then I will, put it on their shelf. Another creator, which I've recently had an issue with, who, he kind of led me along and was like, I was expecting to, because he wants me to have the comics in hand, and then he just cuts me a check. And so I did that, right? And that's, I bit off a big hunk, and then I approach him, and he says, wait till after the first of the year. And he's been dodging my calls. So I'm like, okay, cool. I guess he doesn't want comics anymore. So now I'm just trying to, sell them and get them to local retailers. And I've even got them on my eBay stores to get your comics out there to at least help me in my own comic creation.
Yeah, I was gonna
So.
say, do you have anything where even though you've got a couple, you got comics out there and you're putting them in stores and things like that, do you have a place where you would sell them? Do you have a website for people to learn more and things like that?
So right now I'm just operating off of my eBay store, and then I have a storefront on Fund My Comic, which is currently selling, instead of doing on demand on there, you can set it up as a storefront. And so I'm selling, Chrome Dog issues because I physically have them now, and whatnot. So I'm just trying to get the word out that way for that. But I mean, really, I could build it out and and then just turn it into an actual like storefront, you know proper, I guess, but I don't have an actual website yet. That is, I'm still kind of new to all the ideas of all of that, so it's kind of, and yeah.
Yeah, I think if you get to a point where maybe you could be a retailer slash distributor, that kind of a thing, I
Right.
think maybe that might not make it so bad for you, because then
Yeah,
you can make some money off of it when you sell them at cover price and you get them at the discounted
right,
price. And then
exactly.
at the discounted price you can, pass on at least somewhat of a discount, or however you're doing it with these stores, and then get them into the stores and have that kind of a setup. But I mean, as far as like the legwork and everything else goes, I'm guessing you're doing almost like cold calls or door to door. How is that working out?
So the thing is, when I initially did it, right? Okay, so full disclosure, I made a lot of mistakes. The biggest one was I bagged and boarded all the comics, and that was part of the deal, right? But what I learned was when people would when they would see a bagged and boarded comic, they wouldn't want to touch it, right? So it's just like, so I had to learn to put backing it because it's a magazine rack. It's not even a true comics, comic book rack.
Okay.
And so I had to put cardboard backing in kind of in the placeholders, and then I removed them from the boards and bags and the boards to be able to display them. But to answer your question, the cold calling, I did. I went door to door to different businesses, and initially, I had at max, I had 4 stores that I was responsible for, and it was mainly like 3 of them were just supposed to be startup, like set up and everything, and then the fourth was my local grocery store, which I mean it's nothing for me just to go by there and check on it from time to time and then fill it up as it needs to be, right? And so that was fine, but the others turned out to be more of a chore because and one of them actually went out of business. He kept the comic rack, but I managed to buy back all of the books and and kind of like redistributed the inventory to the other stores. um and then but yeah, I mean, it was initially it was super enthusiastic call, like just walking up and just talking to the business owners, but more often than not, it was going to turn into a vendor relationship. So it was like I have to be the guy, and if I'm doing that, I'm spending all my time doing that, and keeping up with my own inventory and this and that. Guess what? My comic book aspirations of actually like writing and creating my own book they go by the wayside. So that
Yeah,
didn't.
you're kind of like distributor, wholesaler, sales rep,
Pretty much. and
a
and
supply guy,
and all of that,
everything.
and all of that was part-time outside of my day job too, right? So when I came into this, I was hungry and I was like fired up, and and what was funny was I was hitting up all kinds of people in the indie comic space, people that had full length graphic novels, because I didn't know any better, right?
Yeah.
and so and so I'm hitting these people up, and they're not at all interested in trying to do anything but their little crowd funds and keeping things on their websites. And now on this end, I understand it. Like I understand it way better now. But at the same time, I thought, well, I mean, I, what am I going to lose? I mean, I just need to give it a shot, just to try to put these spinner racks in these shops.
Now,
And
do they pay for the spinner rack, or are you paying for that?
so what happens is I give them a package rate at the on the upfront, and I mark it up to a point where it's like, hey, it's $300 total, right, to start, and that's going to cover your spinner rack, and then that's going to cover your first infusion of a full, and you got 16 slots of comic books, right? So depending on like how much I can fit in there, or how much they're willing to go with that, or whatever we figure out that makes sense for their business. And what that means is, um, like the grocery store, I can't put anything adult in there, right? Everything has to be teen and under. So I can't do anything mature. But on the flip side, the head one of the head shops that I manage their spinner rack, I can put it's adult. I can put anything in there, right? Wolf and Batsy was definitely, that's a big title there. So is Blood Realm, and that's what's killing me now, is like I finally have a chance to get this stuff in there, and the guy is blowing me off. But um, but yeah, it's that startup. That's where I'm making my money, because I can get the spinner racks at a marked down rate from a local business here near where I live, that that actually, well, they don't build those. They do build customs, but these they ship in, but it's a very low amount. but it's certainly, if you were to buy the same spinner rack on, say, Amazon, you're going to pay at least $200 for it.
Oh
So I
yeah,
mean,
they're like,
it's
yeah, they're
yeah.
pretty
So
penny.
I got a nice little markup on that first startup initial, the initial, part of it, just to make it worth it for me to even go out and set it up and get them ready. So, but you know, I wish I had better news. It's like, um,
Now I know they
so
make like cardboard type displays. We used to do that
mm,
with stores where it would be like a pocket. I think it was like
yeah,
6 pockets, and they stood up about
yeah,
maybe 5 feet tall, and that was probably like $20 to get the cardboard display at the time. We're talking about
right,
like 12 years ago. I don't
right,
know how much it is now.
yeah, I don't know.
But is the spinner rack key to the deal, or are they open to like a countertop display or something like that, like a dump display in terms of just put the bin and things like that, or how does that go? Like, what's the usual pitch to the store?
So I mean, the pitch is the spinner rack is part of it, and it's a magazine spinner rack specifically. Like it's wide enough to fit magazine size.
Yeah,
Um, and it's a wire rack, wire style rack, as you show in the thumbnail for this video.
yeah, yeah.
And so that's just like part of the thing. And the businesses that I so there so currently, because I had one that closed down, and he kept the spinner rack, so he has his, but I got all his books. But I've got, the grocery store. I've got one that's the head shop, or it's called the Stoners Market. And they have, here in Tennessee, it's legal for certain strains of, like, I think it's like called Delta 8 or whatever, that they can sell or whatnot. And so, people go in there for whatever it is that they do, but it's also somewhat like a convenience store. They do lottery and things like that. But so they have one, and then I've got a bookstore. Now the bookstore, the comics have not done well in there at all, but it's mainly because the demographic in there is like middle-aged women. They're not concerned with comics,
And
and the
it's an
kids
it's an
come in and they enjoy it.
independent bookstore. I'm guessing it's not like a
Correct.
Barnes and Noble or
Yes.
something
I'm
like that.
sorry. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's an independent, locally owned business kind of thing. It's the kind of place that, they do manga volumes, and it does okay, but even that doesn't do well in there. Because, like I said, the demographic primarily is middle-aged women. So that's where I'm probably going to wind up getting a bunch of inventory from for the other ones. But you know, the the heartbreaking thing is when, I went in and I infused my local grocery store. I actually changed. So I started out in that store. I started out with Alterna comics, right? All our Alterna, with the price point being, $1.99 to, I think I did have like a couple of oversized in there.
Yeah, the Giants in there for
Yeah, the
like five
giant.
bucks or
Yeah, I
so.
did the mascots, the mascot books that were, mighty mascots. Those giants, I think I did a few of those in there at 4.99. But everything else was low priced. And I wound up taking those out and putting those in the bookstore because they weren't doing real well in there. So pretty much the price point here locally for our customers apparently is like that 2.99 and lower, right? So I made the mistake of saying,
It's
"Hey,
not a surprise considering, right?
well, I thought, well, Chrome Dog's about to come out. Chrome Dog has an actual, like, price on the book itself at 4.99 because it's an Arrow comic. I mean, I'm with Arrow Comics, and so, and I've got these other Arrow titles that I'm wanting to put on this thing. So let's make the transition over to 4.99." And so I did that. Plus, I've got King Cryptid. I've got all 4 issues of King Cryptid on there. I've got the Horace H. Hoover on there, which that's a fantastic comic, by the way, guys. Seriously, I read both of those. Like, if you like Hellboy, this thing is, I mean, it's even more fun than Hellboy, in my opinion. But anyway, I digress. um, but the thing is, I put those on there, and I kind of go by there, maybe like each other week or whatnot, and nothing seems to be moving, and I don't understand it. Especially those King Cryptids, because I mean the cover art I mean, I don't know why a person wouldn't want to pick that up. I don't understand.
Where is this? Where are they placed in the store? Where is the rack?
So so it's by the main register, because they've got multiple grocery lanes, right? And so it's by, there's a like they've got a little toy spinner rack. They've got some like little Debbie snacks, kind of like Intamin's kind of, area, little display or whatnot, and it's kind of right there. So it's in an impulsy area, um, for the most part. But I think it's the price point, to be honest. I think, and as I'm sure you know, like, as far as print costs, I mean, we're getting priced out of the market for floppies these days. It's getting ridiculous out here. So, I mean, I know you're in newsprint, and I can't, we can't touch that yet. We
Yeah,
can
yeah.
do thicker, the thicker newsprint, but not the, not the other. But yeah, it's, sticker shock when I went to go print Chrome Dog, from what the initial, quote was before the crowdfund, and then after, we're talking like a year later, it it went up $1, and it's like, and that cut into the actual price point on the comic, which, you know so
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting because newsprint went up, but everything else went up way more than the newsprint costs. Um, but so as far as what you're doing now, some people are, I think, confused as to the venture because they're like, so is there any good news? It sounds like a real tough business. Now, where Justin's been doing this for about a year, and it's very localized. The
right.
thing that the thing I'm seeing is there's a lot of good news, if anything, and don't take offense to this, but I think that there's a lot of good news in the fact that you're kind of establishing proof of concept
Right.
in which that maybe every comic creator, we could all go out and kind of do this in our local areas
Well,
and just kind of ask around and pound the pavement and see what they'd be into stocking and putting it on there. And I
well,
think there's a good avenue for that in terms of possibility.
Well, that was my initial goal, to be honest. So I think goal achieved. I mean, that was my goal was, because I come from a very libertarian, atomized government type of point of view, right? So I believe that, our local governments are way more important than the national. Okay, that's the way I see things, and so I feel like, because we I can affect the most people around me, and I can affect people around me that you can't, wherever you are there, Pete, and same, vice versa, right? And so it's like, if I can prove the concept at least a little bit, and I can, in my example, can encourage other people to do likewise, well, then guess what? We actually start a real movement, instead of this, um, you know, flavor of the month, culture war, whatever you want to call it, right?
Well, you
We're
can't win a
affecting real
culture war if you
change.
don't create and put culture out there. And
Exactly.
if the other guy in the culture war is putting out 50 things in the month compared to the one
True.
thing you maybe put out in a year, by the
That's true.
time the end of that year goes, unless you've got more people putting out all of that stuff. Like, so let's say if we had 10 times the amount of creators putting out whatever
Right.
once a year, and then they have whatever they're putting out, and they're putting out 400 things a year. So if we have 300 or 400 creators putting out one thing a year, and they're
Mhm.
putting out 300 or 400 things, and it's one company,
Right.
then you can kind of say, okay, well, you're offering up a different sort of thing, but you're at least putting out at the end of that year something equivalent. But there's no equivalency whatsoever in that respect. So it's really difficult in terms of the battleground, in terms of getting product out there, getting story out there, getting characters out there, to even approach a level
Well,
in
and and
thinking that there's an approximation to winning the fight. So
well,
that's so
and
for
that's
people, and not to
yeah.
cut you off, but
No, no,
for
you're
so I'd rather see people focus less about like the whole thing of like saving the industry or winning a culture war or whatever. Win the tiny battles, and the tiny battles are going to be won by you focusing on your art, your story, your quality control, all these different things, and do as best as you can do, and take as much time as you need to make that possible, and continue to grow, and hopefully every single time learn and learn and learn, and you'll get faster and better at it. But that's got to be the focus, because you can't win anything like this. You can't even win putting out a comic book if you're not going to commit to making the panel, the page, the script, all the different things, and making it as good as you possibly can. But yeah, I digress.
Well, I think part of that, I mean, just to dovetail on that, is to say that, for all of us out here that are making our own books, if we could just learn to play well together, play well with each other, and I don't know, if you see someone who's out here pounding the pavement, it's like, hey, let's work out a deal so that we can proliferate some of the product out there to get it out there, right? I think that's the thing. When I had the idea to prove the concept, I really only had two options, right? And these were the two, and I'm actually getting to the real inspiration for it. I know you're aware of the whole situation that happened with the long shots campaign with Liberty Distribution, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, okay.
That whole fiasco, right? The whole thing, whatever. So that happened right about the time I entered this space, and I actually got plugged in with Luke Stone, and of course he's my artist for Chrome Dog, and so that's, I mean, it all just kind of came together really really nicely at that time. But um, it was seeing that they had all this inventory of books that they needed to get rid of, right? They got left with, all these creators got left with all these books, and they got left out in the cold. And so I'm like, okay, well, I can take the charge. I'm going to do something. And so that was like, okay, so I had that, and then I saw Alterna, and I'm like, I kept seeing, your books in your label everywhere. And so I'm like, okay, I would need to look into this. And so that's what started that. And so between you two, I was like, okay, this is how I'm going to start. And that's what I did, because no one else had floppies to hit, to hand me. Everyone else had these thick graphic novels that they didn't want to come off of a certain, it's like, and I can't put like these graphic novels on a daggone spinner rack. I mean, what's the kind of shopper is gonna like go, oh, yeah, I'm gonna spend $20 or $30 on that? It's like, are you kidding me? So, and that was the real struggle, is inventory, trying to find actual books that I can put on these things. And so I think the real crux that we face not only is what you're talking about, creating the quality product, but getting it into a package for for the actual, like, the time we live in. Because I mean, I hate to say it, but I feel like I'm living in the past with this whole concept of a spinner rack. I mean,
I mean, in
because
some ways you are.
it's not really working. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
not. It works because, yes, I'm motivated. I'm out here and I'm doing it, and and I'm and it we got good months. I'll go in there and it's like almost empty. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna add some more comics, right? But then there's other times that it doesn't move at all. So it's very disheartening in those moments. But on the other hand, it's um I mean, we're seeing these comic shops, which are, that's the direct market. Like, that is where everyone pivoted to, right? So they got everyone off of print media in the grocery store. Matter of fact, just to say this, in my local grocery store, the only print media is that spinner rack. They don't even have tabloids. They don't have anything in there except for maybe the local newspaper. That's it. They don't have magazines. They don't have anything in there.
Yeah.
Um, and so, you ripped all of that out of there, and now the I say you, I mean, the industry. They pulled it all out, turned it into, a boutique store that it's almost like a liquor store for us geeky guys, right? You got to go off the beaten path to get the stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? You can't just go down to your local gas station anymore. You have to go, out somewhere else,
Yeah,
and find your comics.
the normalization of
Yeah,
proliferation of comics that's
exactly. And
decades removed.
and then people say, well, what about digital? Well, I got news for you. I mean, I'm not alone. Okay, but the percentages don't lie. On my crowdfunding campaign, bulk majority of the people who backed me, guess what? They got physical books. They were not backing me at the digital tier. Now, you may be different with your, with
No,
alternate
it's usually
comics.
between 8 to 10% of our sales is digital.
That tracks. That
I don't
tracks.
mind offering them up. I think that's a great
Well, yeah,
option for people, even
absolutely,
though with Alterna, it's a whole other experience to experience the book on newsprint. The newsprint adds something, as
hundred
many of
percent.
the Alterna readers know.
You darn
But
right.
it's I'm fine with offering up digital. But yeah, the digital isn't like a replacement. And if digital is
Exactly.
going to be a replacement, digital needs to be ad based and free. And
Right.
that's how that would end up getting out there. And many people can honestly even say, well, if you can put like I don't know, let's say you put out like a 56 or 64 page comic and 30 pages of it was ads, right? Then you can probably get that comic for free because you can charge the advertisers and have maybe a bigger circulation, and then all the ads maybe are half of the book or whatever it is, and this way it doesn't screw up with the story too much, and people are kind of, here's a chunk of the ads, here's a chunk of the story, and then there's your free comic.
Right.
If that's what people want, I don't know if that's what they want,
Right.
but that would be a way to do something like that. But I mean, there's a lot of different ways to try to go about this if you really want to get crazy and outside the box with what's what. But definitely, people seem to prefer print over digital.
Well, and that's what we're actually facing, right? We've got all of these all of these creators in our space that are, they're either doing their own thing or they're fighting over these really like minuscule things that don't really matter to anything else except for like clicks, right? So, you know, rather than us coming together with like some type of a brain trust and actually like try to tackle the real issues with the print, the actual medium that we're operating in, which is comics, right? The, panels and pages, and getting it into a format, not only, I'm not saying a single format, I'm saying all the formats, but get it to where we can get it to the most people in even if it's a guerrilla online style, just get it out there. I mean, something has to give because the comic book shops are closing. There, we've already demonstrated that the spinner racks are already gone, right? Aside from people like me out here, doing what we're doing. But like, what's left, right? What I mean, so okay, let's look at online sales. So eBay, or okay, better yet, Whatnot. That's what all the cool kids are doing now. They're going on Whatnot. So I tried Whatnot. The problem with Whatnot is people don't want to pay the shipping to get the book that they just bought. That's, if I'm, unless I'm selling some, I'm sorry, but smut, unless I'm selling some smut cover of, whatever comic, right? At, and they go up and up and up because they want that. If I'm just selling some like couple dollar floppy, they're not going to pay the shipping to get it to them. And so that's the other problem is,
Well,
shipping costs are going up, and so, buying a single floppy is not going to happen.
it's commendable, I think, to get the books out into various stores and see how that works. But
Right.
I think that you might find it to be a difficult battle. I mean, you're already finding it to be a difficult battle, but you're really going to, I think, find it to be a difficult battle based on the fact that the consumer trends are obviously not geared necessarily towards that when it comes to those
Exactly.
products. And then there's a condition factor where a lot of people out there, maybe they go to the spinner rack and it's not exactly in the best shape, the books.
Right.
So then it's like, okay, well, if these were like 50 cents, you're like, right, I'll pick one up. But looking at like a $2, $4, $5 comic or more,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
going to turn into, well, this thing better be great. This thing better be perfect.
Right.
So just the spinner rack alone, like things will get destroyed on a spinner rack, So there's a lot of different things as to why certain aspects of that business have gone to the wayside. And then when you get down the nitty gritty of it, and I say this as someone who's been doing this for 18 years, especially 12 years when we were in distribution with Diamond, even talking to comic shops to try to get comic shops to put your comic in there. Now that's a store that's the prime target for your comic book. You know,
Right.
most of those stores, most, not all, but most, don't want to have anything to do with that comic book.
Right.
They're gonna treat you like, you're a leper coming
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
and it's like, get out, get out. You want to sell me your comic? Get the hell out of here. So it's a very strange environment. Now, to me, I've conditioned myself over the years to look at things that are negative and try to find the positive.
Right.
So what happens with that is we're seeing a lot of positivity in terms of the marketplace of how to sell and get comics out to people. And obviously a lot of people are doing that with crowdfunding. They're doing it with online sales. Amazon is arguably one of, if not the biggest retailer on the planet, and they don't have a single, really anyway, a store in terms of people that obviously like to go there all the time. I know they're kind of got things here, there, and whatever, and things like that. But it's nothing close to the level of people go online to shop for that.
Hmm.
So I really think, and I wonder if you were able to put some time into creating a website, get that website link, get that URL, and kind of become like this indie comics hub in terms of getting the stuff on there and everybody, because a big factor with a lot of this stuff, especially the crowdfunding type stuff, is a lot of people I find don't even have their own site. And even if they do, people are going to go here, there, everywhere, and then they're going to pay the shipping cost per. But if
Right.
they could all go to one site and you're like that guy or whoever it is, putting it together and getting these things listed, and people go to that one site and it ships and it's one shipping charge, and then they can pick up all the books they might have missed along with whatever else that might be there, and then that can kind of grow and grow. Now, of course, you got to have the creators on board that want to have that discount to you, but everybody's got overstock. You're going to
Right.
get a couple creators that feel like, no, I don't need any of that, that's fine. But
Right.
I think the majority would welcome that, and I think also the majority of readers would probably welcome something like that too. The only other option I could see that makes it a little easier on yourself too is if you did set up something like that, you can then do your cold calls or your emails or whatever it may be to some stores,
Hmm.
particularly maybe even comic shops, if you did want to try that route, and then say, hey, I'm an indie distributor startup. Here's the website with what we carry, and take a look and let's talk, and that kind
Right.
of a thing.
Right.
Now, again, I don't know if you're going to probably hear back from even over 20% of them, but it'd be easier on you than, to just ship them out an order and do that and whatever that may be, than to do the door to door kind of, and here's a spinner rack and here's the whole setup. Because
Yeah.
it's going to be, and I've had this talk with a lot of people before when they've asked about like Dollar Tree and things like that,
Mm.
and even Newsstand. We were on Newsstand for like 2 years or so, and Newstand's a nightmare. Nightmare. It's good for advertising to tell people you exist, but in
Hmm.
terms of sales, the whole system is just, you can sell books, but like you're not really going to sell books. So what I mean by that is the whole system I found was really rigged against the aspect of selling and getting something to the vendor, the publisher, because now especially they just got to scan a barcode. They don't have to put a cover off. They don't have to show proof of return. They were just scanning. So
Mm.
even if stuff sold, they have a book right there. Just pop it a bunch of times, and we would get returns in the negative. So if we
Oh
sent
my
like
gosh.
2,000 or 3,000 out, sometimes I would get returns that were like 2,025 or 3,010.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, why is that occurring? And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
they must be scanning things through. And I'm like, so they scan them through, so they don't need to actually register back anything that they've sold it while they collect the funds and the money. And then when it comes to return time, just like if they sold 5 and they got in 6, just scan that one copy 6 times. Look at that. Oh, nothing sold.
Oh
And
my
then they keep the
gosh.
money. So we
Yeah.
got out of there after the 2 years. It was a whole mess, top to bottom.
Dang.
Um, but a big reason too that everything got so weird with all of that is not just because of that too, but obviously also because the bigger publishers kind of up and left. Now they probably had their reasons as well because they probably saw a lot of that occurring. But
Hmm.
there has to be a happy medium between what's occurring with these books and these comics and getting them out there. And then what is the other end? The other end is selling direct or selling online, or just a direct market approach. So there's a lot of different things that I think could be done, but without the clout behind it of the brand or the character or whatever it may be. Because that's the thing too, is that creator names don't matter when it comes to impulse buy
Hmm.
in whatever store. So you could be whoever. You could win all the Eisners. You could be, the
Right.
most famous Twitter comic book person that ever lived.
Right.
But in the grocery store aisle, if that book doesn't look and sound great, I don't give a crap how many Eisners you won or who the hell you are. That book isn't selling.
Yep.
So there's another big reason why the marketing has kind of skewed away. You can even see it in the cover design over the years. When they got out of newsstand, those
Yep.
cover designs went,
Yep.
because it doesn't matter anymore. It's not to capture the attention of the person passing by.
Right.
The money's already there. The retailer bought
Yep.
it.
Yep.
You know,
Exactly.
So yeah, so there's a whole it's a whole sea change back to a way of what it used to be, and that will never happen. And I'm sorry to say that for anyone that thinks that it will. It's just that's not how things work, and that's not how it's going to happen. But what I like what you're doing is that, like I said, you're having proof of concept here. I think there might be a way to streamline it a little better, make it less intensive on you. I think a website would really help with that kind of thing, for people to not only get in touch with you and sign up and work with you through that, but also then for others to see what it is that you have.
Right.
I think that's a really important thing, to have that landing page, that little, doesn't even have to be that crazy. And just to have something that says, look, I exist. I'm not just like guy on the internet who's like doing this. And man, I've been there, man. The first friggin' page for Alterna Comics was our MySpace page. When I
Oh,
thought that,
nice.
yeah, and it just alternacomics.com went to our MySpace page, and that was like the first year or something like that. Because I was like, I don't know how long this is gonna be, and I don't even know
Right.
what the hell I'm doing. I'm
Right.
21. I just figure like Alterna Comics, okay, because it sounds better than Samedi Publishing or something stupid
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
Um, so like I had no idea where it would go and what would happen, but eventually you get into it, you go through the process, you see whether you want to stick with it or not, because that's the other thing too. Don't put yourself in a position where you stick with it just because, right?
Right.
And but
Yeah.
if you stick with it and you find, okay, I'm learning, I'm getting better at it, and these are the different things I can do, and you can grow, maybe in 5 years, who knows, maybe it'll be great, and what you're doing will really take off. It's going to take time,
Right.
but I think what you're doing, you've already proven that there's an aspect of what you're doing that will work, that people are interested in it. Making it work for you and making money, that's something that has to be figured out with however you're going to do the system you're going to do. But the proof of concept of, there are some stores out there that want to sell comics, and there are people out there that will still buy comics that they've never heard of, that aren't movies, that aren't 70, 80-year-old legacy brands. They will still take a chance on them and buy them. And I think that is a huge takeaway. That's an incredibly positive takeaway. And I think just with a little bit more of maybe time and figuring it out, I think you could have something really nice on your hands, and something that at least might inspire others, so that you're not alone in that endeavor.
Well, that's the
But
goal. I mean,
yeah,
again, it's I don't want to be the canary in the coal mine either, you know. It's like, you know, um but with that, so what you're saying is it's like something similar to mycomicshop.com, but for independents, or
yeah.
yeah.
Because if you think about it,
Yeah.
how many of those even are running around? Five, maybe. You got
Right. Yeah.
Midtown, T-Fall, and the thing is, they're not comprehensive either. The most comprehensive comic shop in the world is eBay. And you
Right.
know what I mean? Like, if like, we all know that. Like, you're gonna find practically anything you want on
Yeah.
eBay. Are the prices gonna be there for you, or is that gonna be, maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
But in terms of indie comics where
Yeah.
someone can just go there and
Right.
discover, especially a lot of these crowdfunders, and give them a second life, a second aftermarket type of process. There's not really a whole hell of a lot of that, again, other than eBay. But even then, you go to one site, but then you're still purchasing from separate buyers, and you're still going to have separate shipping, and you're still going to have all these other things
Right.
ahead of you. But if you can have one person doing all that and then shipping out a package, and there you go. Because that's what I'm thinking of in the next 2 to 3 years for Alterna, to transform more into like a publisher slash like reseller kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
Well,
And instead of publishing so many, because most people don't need a publisher nowadays that I would want to work with. I would want to work with self-starter entrepreneurial people, and those people are already kind of doing their thing.
right.
So they don't need like a publisher. Maybe they need an editor or a letterer or a graphic design person or something to do a consult with, but they
Yeah.
don't need a publisher. They can
Right.
figure that out, get the book out, get it done.
Yeah.
But they do need a place like that. And I think the more places like that we have that are kind of like this centralized sort of thing and an aftermarket, I think the better it could be.
Yeah.
But I really like what you're doing. I'm very curious as to what your game plan is for the next couple of years. Do you have one in regards to this?
So- well, I appreciate you having me on the show for this, but my game plan is to make my own comics. I mean,
Okay,
that's
so let's shift to that.
ultimately,
So let's.
yeah. I
You
mean,
got Chrome Dog. What are you doing with
yeah.
that? What's that about?
So yeah. So Chrome Dog it's a story about um, this guy who gets erroneously downloaded. Right? He goes to we'll say he goes to sleep one day and then he wakes up thousands of years later, erroneously downloaded into a body that's this machine, and he's got to figure out what to do with it. And so it's kind of a fish out of water story. Um, but he's in this kind of foreign uh, city. It's a major city, and he finds himself needing to be a hero that the city needs right now. And so he's doing that, but while he's doing that, he has a ride along virtual assistant that's installed in the machine as well, and and she's proven to not be very helpful, and so he's having to navigate that while he's trying to save the day for I mean, in this initial comic, he's trying to save the day for a little girl and her mom. So
Is it an
but
ongoing series or
so my plan right now is to do a two part. I want to finish this current arc with just the two stories. This first comic was 32 pages. I'm thinking the second one's going to be at least 24 to finish that, and maybe have a backup story, or it'll be a full 32, just to finish the little arc. For here to launch him into potentially another title that will be ongoing. But he also has some friends that I want to like grow the universe that he lives in and explore the different facets and everything that's going on around him, different heroes. So it has potential to be something bigger and greater, and that's the thing about this endeavor that I started with. All of my wired up enthusiasm coming to comics. I'm like, I'm gonna make comics, I'm gonna sell comics, I'm gonna be like the comics guy, right? Because I can, right? That 12-year-old energy coming back. And now I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, I'm a creator first. Like, my whole point of being here is to make this book and to make not only him, but he's got his friends and they have their stories. And I also want to, my goal is to be able to draw. I want to draw my own book and do everything start to finish. And
are
you
you
know
not doing the art right now, or you are?
no. Currently, well, Luke Stone did Chrome Dog #1. Right now, I'm looking at some different artists for Chrome Dog #2, just because Luke. Oh my gosh, like I don't know if you've heard of this thing called Fund My Comic, but it's kind of turned into a bit of a beast for him. And of course, he's launched this other crowdfunding website called Fundiverse, and so that's going to keep him pretty busy, as well as these other projects that he has lined up. So it's like,
Did you
okay,
say fun diverse?
Fundiverse, yeah. Fundiverse. Yeah, it's fun diverse, yeah. I'm not even joking. And what's funny, what's even better. I'm an admin on both. Well, I will be an admin on Fundiverse, but I'm an admin on Fund My Comic. So I help. That's another aspect. That's something, as if I don't have enough time, right? Or if I've got plenty of time left over, I'm helping different creators, get their campaigns ready to launch on Fund My Comic. So, and plus I'm helping people edit their books. So I've got back end stuff that I'm working on. And it's like, oh my gosh, like I don't really have time to distribute comics. So, these are great ideas, and and maybe who knows, Pete, maybe I can come work for you, helping you with yours, and I could be, if you let me, telecommute or something, I can be, that you could be my day job or something. I don't know.
Well, if
But I'm
it
just
would
kidding.
definitely be easier for you if you wanted to be an Alterna sales rep and you wanted to
Right.
run around and then you work on getting a commission based on that. At least there's more of like a focus
Yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah.
of a thing as
But
opposed
I'm
to the
I'm yeah,
breadth of
I'm more
titles.
of a yeah, I'm more of the support person. I'm definitely a back end guy, especially for the company that I work for in my day job. Like I work better not being the face, right? It's like, let me be the one that helps, like, strengthen all, like, everything, and create processes in the back end. But um but yeah, the creative aspect of it, yes, creating, Chrome Dog, fleshing out his story. He's got a villain that not just one villain. He has three villains in this first book. One that isn't really spoken of, but oh yeah, Don, thanks. Thank you, Don. Oh yeah, the Don is good people too.
So
um
when you're putting together your comic,
yeah.
what kind of things are you looking towards? Are you thinking about the story arc? Are you thinking about the form of it, of how it's going to take shape in terms of how you're telling the series? Do you have a website for the comic?
So, as I said before, like, the only website I have currently is my storefront on Fund My Comic. So if you go to
Okay.
Fund My Comic, you just type the word Chrome, right, in the search box. You're gonna find Chrome Dog, but there's also some hot chicks, because people love to make their own comics and have the hot chicks on their covers or whatever. So you'll see that, but you'll also see Scratch, which is, that's Chrome Dog's, his name. Like Peter Parker is to Spider-Man. That's Chrome Dog's kind of my love letter to both Spider-Man and Batman at the same time. If I'm being completely, that and Cyberpunk. Like, I love Cyberpunk, so I'm like, okay, how can I do Cyberpunk, Batman, and Spider-Man at the same time? Chrome Dog, let's go. So, but yeah, I mean, currently that's the website. I mean, you just go on there, and then I'm going to be adding, some issues to my eBay store, at least for now. But yes, I do have a Substack as well, just in case. Sweet. I and I have my own, I have a YouTube channel. Like I said, I think before we started here, I'm waiting to get a decent mic so I can start, making a serious go of just doing, videos, cranking out content, as they say, just to have something up there and to, really invite people and to build out my world, and not just the comic book medium. But I have a plan for a novella, because I want to tell the story of Chrome Dog's, what that body that he inhabits, where it came from. Because I feel like it's the kind of story that it needs to be a novel instead of an actual, like, comic book, because the action and the intrigue that would happen in there might be better for, pulp style of, page, rather than,
Hmm.
panels.
Well, it'd
So
certainly be cheaper and quicker to
yeah,
do.
that is for sure. If I'm not drawing it right, and that's the other thing. It's like I want to try to draw. I don't want to be a hashtag just a writer, and I have multiple inspirations for that. All right, one of them is my namesake. There is a guy out there. His name is Justin J. Sweet, and he is a concept artist for, Disney, like, primarily, but he's done a lot of Conan stuff and things. But he's a prolific artist in his own style, in his own way. and that inspires me because I'm just like I want to be able to draw my own stuff, and I
You want
know
to
that
be
I
like the
can.
guy
I
with the
just got to
middle
do it.
name that's alphabetically just before you.
Right.
You want people to be like, is that Justin
Well,
K sweet or is that a Justin J sweet?
exactly, right. But the another reason, the K, right? Even though it is my middle initial, I'm a big, like I said, I'm a big cyberpunk fan, so it's definitely kind of a little bit of a wink to Philip K. Dick because I really like his work.
Oh yeah,
And he may be a cousin of mine. I don't know. I'm related to Dicks, so he's a Dick.
I
I
think we're
got
all related
cousins
to
that are
dicks.
Dicks. Absolutely.
Some of us are. That's one of those things. What is
I
that,
try.
right? If you're not
I,
related to a dick, you are the dick,
I mean, I
right?
dedicate I dedicate daily to not be a dick. That is that is what I do. Even though it's in my blood because I've got cousins that have the name Dick on their headstones. Dating back to lordship over in Scotland and Ireland.
Lots of sweet dicks out there.
Nice.
Very good. Very good.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, nice. I mean, I laid it up for you, didn't I? Just drove it home.
And Justin, thank you so much. We got
Yes,
Don
sir.
asking, what's the
Yeah.
K stand for?
Oh, oh boy. It's not Keith, and it's not Kevin.
Oh, okay.
I'll just let people just ponder on that for a while.
Look at that.
I will say,
Mysterious.
and to those who want to guess, let's just say my mom was very into certain musicians who may or may not have been a part of the Highwaymen. So that's a really good clue to figure out what that middle name is. However, it's like Rumpelstiltskin. You can't spell it, right? It's not going to spell the same. So even if you figure it out, it's not going to be spelled the way you think it will be. So
There you go. Duck Bacon says cool with a
K, yeah,
K.
K for cool, yeah. Duck Bacon, he's that. I want to brag on Duck Bacon for a second. He's definitely like, if I had to say, if I had any super fans, he's one of them. Like every time I have a live stream, he's my guest, but he's in the chat. So it's just he and me. If other people show up, that's cool. But like he and I, we have exchanges, just me talking to him in the chat when I'm like breaking down, talking about comic books or talking about whatever's on my brain. Or I'm not even kidding. I think I did a series of 3 different live streams where I was putting together a puzzle and just talking comics and whatever was on my mind.
That sounds
So,
nice.
yeah, I mean, it's on my channel. I don't even remember what I was talking about, but I'm sure it was something entertaining because he was glued to the screen.
Well, there you go. Man, Justin, thank you so much. Before
Yes,
we
sir.
go, where can they find you?
So I am at Justin K Sweet on X/Twitter, on Instagram. Yes, I have Instagram. I don't do much with it yet, but it's coming because as I draw, I want to share my experience of the foibles and the follies of drawing. And then I'm on Facebook. Uh, it's I don't know. I think it's Justin Sweet and then 000 on there for whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm around. I'm hanging out on Twitter a lot, way too much, I think. But I also don't engage as much. There is this pesky. I will have to say about Twitter. Whenever I'm on there, there is this pesky ghost that seems to flutter about, and I'm not sure if you've seen him around, Pete. But there is this ghosty fellow. I don't know. You might want to watch out for him. He's a wily one. You better.
Okay.
You better.
I'll
and he
keep
like
my
and
eyes open.
he loves to talk in all caps and broken English. I don't know what his deal is, but
Oh, it goes to Comics Past, right? That guy. Yeah, yeah. He's like always in character.
yeah,
As like an obnoxious kid.
yeah.
I guess that's what he's going for. I don't know. But sometimes it's amusing, sometimes it's confusing. But yeah, I
Or a
hear
little
you.
of both.
Dr. Mask is back. The new campaign for awesome alternative books. Thank you very much, Doc. Appreciate that.
100%.
And yeah, so other than that, yeah, you're not a ghost, Don. You're not a ghost. As far as we know.
I mean, I don't know. He's like, what? Oh yeah, Arrow
There
Comics,
you
definitely.
go.
Okay. So Arrow Comics. Okay, let me correct that. It's not arrowcomics.com. It's arrowcomics.store. Okay, if you want to check out Arrow Comics, go to arrowcomics.store, and that is the place to buy. You can get digital comics. You can get physical, versions of the different Arrow titles that we have. We've got, Luke Stone has the hybrids line. We've got Sin Killer. That's a fun book. Definitely not for children. And then Randy Zimmerman, our editor, he's got The Fool is out, and that's issue number 1. And I'm not sure, but I think Soul from Mad Ruth, aka Craig White, is currently on there in floppy form, so you can pick up those individual issues. But I don't
Oh,
think
very nice.
www.arrowcomics.com is anything having to do with us, if it even exists. So,
Okay,
I
so
mean,
arrowcomics.store.
arrowcomics.store, yes, sir.
All right. All right. Well, that's about it, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Justin, thank you as well,
Yeah,
man. And
absolutely.
best of luck with all of your endeavors. It sounds like you've got many irons in the fire.
Too many.
Don't
I
forget to
put
take them
too
out
much on me.
sometime.
I put too many on me. That's why we need, I have to say this. That's why I need Lady Zero, right? I'm Agent Zero, she's Lady Zero, and she keeps me in check. She's like, you that's too much. You got too much on you, this or that. You're not selling that for enough. You're doing what are you doing it for free? That kind of thing. So anyway, go ahead. I didn't
Yeah. No, I hear you. You gotta have that person that's able to crack the whip and get you back down to earth sometime.
100%.
Keep you focused.
100%
Very important.
grounded.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much again for being here. Justin, all the best to you, buddy.
Thanks.
I'll be back this weekend. I'm going to be on this channel tomorrow night, and then I'll be on the Alterna channel on Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern for both of those days. I'll see you guys soon. And if not, have a wonderful night, a great weekend, an even better tomorrow, all that good stuff. Everybody, take care and all the best.
Bye.